Hey everybody, I'm here with Ian Baker from the Silhouettes, instrumental surfish band from Birmingham, UK, right smack dab in the middle of good old England. How are you guys?
Absolutely wonderful, Ryan. Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking to you on this afternoon.
So
Well, mid
what I want to
afternoon.
mention is I found um your band on Bandcamp through the link of Hunter King's List from Storm Surge of Reverb. And
Yeah,
I want you to tell me a little about your December release that he mentioned.
absolutely. Here it is in all its 180 gram vinyl beauty.
Oh, wow.
Silhouettes, WLP for Wild Records. Uh, and it's a beautiful slab of sound.
Wow.
Well, it's a beautiful slab of vinyl. It's how we should sound on vinyl. Having said that, because people have asked, we are doing a CD version in about 6 to 8 weeks' time. That'll be available. But this is the first press of the LP. The
Wow.
second press will be a different rear cover. The jury's out which one I prefer, actually. But this is it. And it's on all digital platforms as well. It comes with this beautiful insert as well.
Oh, I love how it's a throwback to the 60s where they had the big stories on the back of the LPs.
Yeah. It's a tough one really because actually the the later version coming up now won't have that. But I wanted to put this on because the influences and inspirations for me are quite obvious. It's the Ventures, it's the early Shadows, and onto the late 90s bands that made it all worthwhile again, like the Hunters and Cads, the Bomboras, Galaxy Trio, a lot of LA West Coast bands. They were a big influence on me. And so I wanted to give a little bit of a homage on the first Silhouettes release.
Yeah, it's really good. Extra Shot it's aptly named because every tune stands on its own, right? And I mean it's got a really big airy sound to it. Is that what you were going for?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it was produced and mixed by a chap called Graham Dominey in the Embassy Studios in Basingstoke, and we worked with him before on the two earlier 7-inch Silhouettes releases on Wild
Oh,
Records.
wow.
That is my personal copy. It's sold out. The Savage Country 45, there is a remastered and remixed version on the LP, but I quite like the 7-inch version. It's got its own vibe. So we knew Graham, and we wanted him to do the first album. He's going to do the follow-up album as well. We just laid it down. I mean, the thing about Extra Shot, it's a rock and roll album.
Yeah.
It's a rock and roll album. So it was very important that every track on that was a live standard or had been a live standard throughout the 200 or so gigs we've done, fortunately, worldwide, because we're very fortunate to be an international band. So it was very important that every single track was a live standard at some point in our history. And just taking thing out of context, if you've heard the very first Black Sabbath album, that was basically a live album recorded in 8 hours.
Yeah.
And that's always influenced me. The sound of that album just still blows me away. And that's why I wanted to record it like we've just said. It's got the guitar player now just messaging me. I'll just get shot in.
Oh. did,
Hello? Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
did you record that on analog?
Yes. It was done on tape. Yes. It was mastered on tape. Yes. It was recorded virtually live with very, very few alterations, and it was mastered on tape. It was mastered on analog tape.
So I myself always preferred recording live, like as a group instead of the individual tracks. I
Yeah.
understand it's not as common these days, but I want people to understand what the difference is like in the vibe when you're all together in a room playing the song. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's basically like doing a different kind of gig. I mean, obviously, like lots of bands, we do different venues, but we also do a lot of in-store record store performances as well at various record stores throughout the UK. So we're quite used to doing different, playing in different environments. And of course, when COVID was here, we did a lot of streams as well because we were then we did a lot of streams. So we go in and plug in and just do it. And that first album went down like a live show, like a live show. And there was one track that we didn't use because it didn't quite sink in with the other 12 tracks. And that was it. That was the session. It was done in a day and a half.
You recorded that whole album in a day and a half?
In a day and a half, and it was mastered 7 to 10 days later.
Wow.
Yeah, and done within 2 weeks, done and dusted within 2 weeks, and sent off.
So from the time you recorded it to when it came out on vinyl, how long did that take?
Unfortunately, about 9 months, because we recorded it, had it mastered, sent it off inside 3 weeks. But because of the backlog for vinyl, I think it went into pressing in April, and on the morning of 19th of December, when we were due to play a record store. So I took loads of copies, literally from the Amazon delivery man, ran to the store, played the gig, and started selling it there and then.
Oh, awesome. Now tell me about how this was put out. Did you put it out, or what was the record label that put it out?
Wild Records. Wild Records is a very well-respected USA label based in Hollywood, based in Pasadena. A lot of people who know Wild think it's a rockabilly label. It's not. To use Reb Kennedy's, the owner of Wild's, description, and he said, if punk came out in the 1950s, that's Wild Records. So although he has a lot of stock of female torch singers and very good Mexican rockabilly bands, he also looks outside of, he looks everywhere, worldwide, for people who are doing something slightly different, which is how we came into it.
Awesome. So a lot of people are watching now and are going to go check out your music on your Bandcamp page. But what I'd like to know is, and a lot of our listeners are musicians and super fans of surf music. What gear are you using in the recording of Extra Shot to get, like, what reverb are you using? What amps are you using? What guitars are you using?
Yes, certainly, yeah. Well, it's all Fender based. I only play one bass, and and that's the American Precision Standard. I can't even play any other Fender, basically. Well, I will have to. That's probably a precious thing to say.
Steve Harris.
Yeah, and various Fender. They're all Fender amps. Sometimes use 100 watt, sometimes use the 500 watt combo, sometimes the 200 watt combo. It's always a Fender amp. And Lewis, the guitar player, uses a black Fender Telecaster. I should have got some pictures ready of it, actually. And he's got a couple of Fender Combi amps as well that he just uses. And one looks very much like the one you've got behind.
Yeah, I got a Champ, and this is a 212.
Yeah, he's got a 212. He's also got something else, and I can't think what it is off the top of my head now. He uses 2 different amps depending where we're going and depending what we have to load in and all that. And he uses a basic reverb pedal and a Super Surfer, and it's a distortion pedal which he only uses very low and mixes it in. I'm not sure exactly what he does, which is a shame he couldn't join us today, but that's how he gets the sound. So it's a reverby sound, but it hasn't quite got the surfy reverb sound that maybe a lot of other people use. Because as I said earlier, Ryan, we're a rock and roll band. We happen to be instrumental. The aim of this band, hopefully it doesn't sound too precious, is that although I've got very obvious influences and a lot of these bands I love, I wanted to do something that wasn't restrained by a particular genre. This is what, without going on and on, I'll just finish by saying the final track on Extra Shot is Spectre of the Gun. That's the future of the Silhouettes. that's how we will go. It's something very heavy and something different. So, although I'm very proud of this release, and it's a wonderful resume of the 2.5 years that we've been playing live. As I say, we know we can do better. We know we can do better, and that's not saying it's better than anything else anybody does. That's not what it's about. It's our next album will be our peak. I hope that comes across okay.
So yeah. So that's a really interesting way of saying you kind of like the last track is kind of like a kind of look into the future. And I think that's an excellent idea. An excellent way of approaching it. Are you there, Ian?
I am there. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay. So this interview will come out around April. What I want to know is around that time, spring, summer, I know is the heavy show season. Tell me what you guys got going on.
Okay, well, from now for 2023, we're beginning on the 14th of January. We have 9 UK dates, which is basically England, to promote the album, and that culminates at the beginning of March when we go to the Netherlands to play the Wild Records Weekender, which is a 3-day event from the 2nd to the 4th of March. We're playing that, and then we have a couple of. Are you familiar with HMV Record Store? It's a franchise of record
Oh,
stores.
yes, they used to be in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we've actually got extra shot in 3 HMV locations in England.
Wow.
In Burton-on-Trent, in Birmingham itself, which is our hometown, and in Coventry, which is not too far away. That's the 3rd city. So we're doing in-store appearances throughout the rest of March in that to promote the album, which is I mean, when you sign up to having your stuff in there, they want you to do an in-store show. So that's how it runs. And
That must be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's different. I mean, sometimes it's packed, and sometimes people just wander in. But it's never less than challenging, which is good. And at the end of May, we're back in Europe. We're going to Antwerp and Gwent to do a couple of shows over there with an excellent Belgian surf band called Humanga Danga. They really are.
I know those guys.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah.
Small world. Yeah. Great band, great people as well. There will have some more UK dates, but then we have the follow-up album out at the beginning of October. Let's let the cat out of the bag a little bit. We're going back out to USA then for 3 weeks.
Where in the USA are you going?
We're going to LA, Pasadena, Hollywood. Then we're going over to Vegas, where we know some people. We'll be playing the Double Down Saloon over there, plus 2 other venues to be announced.
How about Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's well, Wild Records is, I'd love to, but Wild Records is based in Pasadena, which helps with the shows over there. Yeah, and we know people in Vegas, so in between those batch of shows, we're going to have a little holiday in the desert, in the Nevada desert as well. The guy from Wild has got a bit of a ranch he's going to loan out to us, so it's a bit of work, a bit of play, and a bit more work to finish off. But it's going to be
a little bit of ayahuasca.
What's that then?
A little bit of ayahuasca.
Oh, yes. Sorry, you lost me there. But yeah. Yeah. So that's 2023 pretty much mapped out.
Excellent. Yeah. So War Records is going to put your second LP out?
Yes, that'll be on Wild as well. That'll be on Wild. Yeah.
Awesome. What I want the viewers to understand, if they're not into vinyl, describe what 180-gram vinyl sounds like compared to a regular pressing.
How much time have I got? No, as I understand, 180-gram vinyl is obviously heavier. I think the normal is around about 120. Some pressing plants are quite good, and they will throw 130 or 140 vinyl out. But 180 gram, this is how I understand it and how it's been explained to me. It's not the fact that it's heavier that makes it better. It's the fact is because it's heavier, the mastering has to be spot on to get the record out. That's why it's better eventually. It's better for an audiophile, and it is a better sound, but it is more expensive.
Yeah. Like I like 180 grand because I think it sounds better. But what I don't know, and I assumed I might be wrong, that the grooves are deeper because it's so thick.
I think they are as well, but I think it's all to do with the mastering. This is how it's been explained to me, so I don't know. But it's basically, it has to be mastered properly because of the weight of it. Sometimes, other than 180 gram, you can get it. That's why pressings are so faulty. If they're not paying attention, it looks like the pressing has taken and it hasn't. I've had that on a couple of vinyl releases. But 180 gram, I don't think it's possible to do a bad press. That's my understanding of it and the impression I get. I've only been made aware of that quite recently. I thought 180 gram, it must be better because it's heavier, but it's down to the actual mastering as it's been explained to me, which I found quite interesting. But the follow-up album will be out now, 180 gram as well.
Awesome.
So yeah. Well, I'll just mention very quickly, we have got a 45 coming out in April or May, and it's a version of Fire of Love, which is the Jody Reynolds classic. So
Oh wow.
that's coming out as a bit of an interim release as well to see us through till October. So we're looking forward to that.
Any chance you'll be going to Livorno in June?
Where's that then? Sorry, but
Italy?
not offhand. Well, what's that? What's happening there then?
The Surfer Joe Festival?
Oh, Surfer Joe. Sorry, no, we haven't got sort of rather. I mean, we're quite a heavy band live, and quite uncompromising. We use a lot of exotic and tribal drum rhythms, but they're played very aggressively. I'm sure you're familiar with the 3 albums that Dick Dale did in the early 90s, Tribal Thunder, Calling Up Spirits, and there was another one in between that, Unknown
Yeah,
Territory.
absolutely.
Prairie Prince was the drummer. He was
Yeah.
That's basically what we're similar to that. We're a very, very heavy band live.
Okay.
Some of the purest surf people don't get on with us. We're a Marmite band. You love or hate us. So
Well, I love you.
thank you very much. Sometimes it's quite difficult to get up to for us to get onto really conventional instro festivals, but the festivals are a little bit askew, like Wild Weekender, and there's a Monster Raving Loony thing as well that we're scheduled to do, and a couple of big biker things for next year that seem to lap it up. So it's but that suits me down to the ground because it shows what we set out to be. We're working towards, we're on the right track. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we end, I'd like to know when you go on tour, and it sounds like you're a very hardworking band. What are some of your favorite places in Europe to play?
Oh, in Europe, okay. Well, we've okay. Well, there's the guy who runs Wild Records Europe is called a lad called Tom Callahoo, and he has the Kingsland Centre, and that's in Wardum, Belgium. That's like a Belgian's version of what a Wild West saloon would be. So
Okay.
it's a venue. There's in Liege, France. There's the Far West Bar. That's an excellent rock and roll bar. Where else have we played that we can recommend? Well, actually, although it's gone now, there was Steve Dessian's, and it's a gigantic barbershop live venue.
Oh
That's
wow.
yeah. Now, I can't remember exactly where that was now. And somewhere near Gwent, we played there. That was just crazy. But insane, but in a good way. There was the White Trash Bar in Germany, but that's gone now, unfortunately. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to narrow it down to the last 3 years, otherwise the references are sort of well out of date. Europe. The Thomas House Bar in Dublin, Ireland. That's the stronghold as well. He's just started putting live bands on again. Mostly Wild Records bands. Off the top of my head, those type of venues.
Awesome. Well, I want everybody to know that the Silhouettes are a really killer instrumental band, a la the 1960s. The links to their social media and Bandcamp will be in the description. what I suggest you do is go and support the band by listening to their music, either purchasing a digital copy or a vinyl copy, and just get to know the band and support them. And thank you so much, Ian. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Good to talk to you, Ryan. Good to talk to you.